Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias. Today we are discussing The Invisible Man 2020. The Invisible Man 2020, science fiction thriller written and directed by Leigh Whannell, previously directed one of my favorite movies, Upgrade, and he was also a writer and creator of the Saw franchise. He did not direct Saw, by the way. It was James Wan did. But Leigh Whannell is the writer on Saw. He was a creator and writer on the Upgrade movie. He's been involved in the Insidious franchise and Dead Silence as well. Leigh Whannell has a very interesting style, and he was, after watching Upgrade, and I've seen Saw a long time ago, it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure that first one still probably holds up. I'm not sure about the sequels following that, but anyways, The Invisible Man is a contemporary adaptation of the novel of the same name by H.G. Wells, and a reboot of the Invisible Man film series. It follows a woman who believes she is being stalked by her abusive boyfriend, despite him apparently having, this is small spoiler just for the plot, just at the very beginning, there's something happens to the boyfriend that takes him off the tape, that makes him appear as if he does not exist anymore. However, given the title of the story, that's probably not what happened. So, The Invisible Man is starring Elisabeth Moss. We best know her from The Handmaid's Tale. We've seen her in tons of different movies. Us. She was in The Kitchen. I've heard good things about the movie Her Smell. And wasn't she in? Yeah, she was Peggy Olson on Mad Men. I was trying to remember where we first saw her from. Elisabeth Moss has grown so much as an actress that I kind of forgot where her roots were in Mad Men. So that's where the majority of people probably know her from television, and now she's making her way onto the big screen in movies like Us and The Invisible Man, and she's obviously able to carry a television series, given what's going on with The Handmaid's Tale. I'm actually kind of in the dark about it, but I've heard good things about her and the performance she's been given. For the rest of the cast, we have Oliver Jackson Cohen as Adrian Griffin, Harriet Dyer as Emily Cass, and Aldous Hodge as James Laner, as well as Storm Reed. And I think we saw Storm Reed as the sister in Euphoria as Gia Bennett. So let's hop into the plot of The Invisible Man. The film follows Cecilia, who receives the news of her abusive ex-boyfriend's suicide. She begins to rebuild her life for better. However, her sense of reality is put into question, and when she begins to suspect her deceased lover is not actually dead. So, The Invisible Man is running it's rated R, 2 hours, 4 minutes, and it was created on a budget of $7 million. So that's the Blumhouse special. They like to keep their movies very lean. Under $10 million is pretty impressive to create just about any movie with, especially one that looks this good. I think that Leigh Whannell had a pretty low budget for Upgrade as well. So, a couple of things that I like about this movie are... Where the hell are my notes? A couple of things I like about this movie are... Okay. I really like the set design. I recall in Upgrade, the atmosphere and set design that they have for his previous movies just set you in the world. It really feels immersive. The camera work, the direction that Leigh Whannell is, providing in the cinematography is it's impressive, and it works especially for this movie because this is kind of an action thriller in a way, depending on parts of the movie, depending. But the suspense and horror aspects are and mystery are what really keep you focused into the plot, and then the action is like the satisfying payoff. And yes, we do get some of that amazing Upgrade action. If you saw Upgrade, let's see, what was it, 2 years ago or a year ago? Probably 2 years ago now. Then you'll know how good the action can be. 2018 Upgrade. So what else do we like about this movie? The sound design. I feel like, just like many horror movies and suspenseful movies and dramatic, things that really rely on effects, this movie is not too terribly effect heavy, CGI heavy. It is much more lenient on the practical effects and the sound design to immerse you in the perspective of Elizabeth Moss. And like I said, the action, you get some of that amazing Upgrade action and camera work in this film. It's not quite like Upgrade with the type of action, but you can definitely feel the same sort of camera work and choreography. So the cons in this, they're going to come from the very last, probably the last little bit of the movie for the majority of people. I think the way the movie ends is kind of a little convenient and contrived, but it wasn't in a way that ruined my time watching The Invisible Man. The entire time you're thinking, how does this character Elizabeth Moss, how does she fight the Invisible Man? Because there's so much of the movie where she can't see anything, and there's just this camera is just focusing on kind of random parts of the room, seats, walls, corners, stuff like that. And then there's this sound design that immerses you, that it makes you kind of push everything else out aside, just so that you can see, you are trying to see where the Invisible Man is. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie. The problem when it is, for probably the majority of people, will be that last act. And I'll hop into spoilers to discuss those, but I think that's just about it. I would totally recommend this movie if you are even a little bit interested. It's a good... It probably could be shaved about 15 minutes, but those, extra 15 minutes did not, delay my enjoyment at all. It just adds to the pacing, I think. So, and yeah, the pacing is kind of slow at the beginning. It's a very suspenseful build, and then kind of like a mic drop. The ball gets rolling really hard. So let's hop into spoilers for The Invisible Man. So like I said, the set design, the atmosphere, the way that we are immersed in this amazing architecture, the house that this entrepreneur lives in, and Elizabeth Moss' character, I forgot her name. Her name is Cecilia. So Cecilia and Aiden. Aiden is the Invisible Man. Adrian, sorry, not Aiden, Adrian. Adrian is apparently a wealthy entrepreneur who was, they say he's in optics, which I'm not really sure what that means. I thought optics was like glasses or something, but apparently the way this movie starts is Elizabeth Moss has got to get the hell out of this relationship, and it is instantly suspenseful watching her try to escape this massive, it's not a plantation, but it feels like this massive estate. and the suspense of it. You really get a feel for how the camera's going to work. Several times throughout the beginning of the movie, we're following Elizabeth Moss and through this the Cecilia character through that amazing house, and she's going and getting ready, grabbing things, grabbing clothes, removing the evidence that she had. I think she drugged him that night to sedated him, and so the the camera work in this opening act is amazing. Just how it's following her, and just the sense of where the camera's gonna follow. Like, there's multiple times where it feels like the camera's kind of just slowly going throughout the house. We're looking down hallways, we're looking at furniture, we're looking at different parts of this amazing aesthetics, and then it'll pan a little bit over, and then we'll see Elizabeth Moss finishing up whatever she's doing in that room. And so I was very impressed with the confidence that Leigh Whannell had with the direction of this movie, and you can tell just by the opening act. So it instantly gets the ball rolling, and you're like, you gotta fucking go. You're with her, and you're like, oh my gosh, go, go, go. The only thing that kind of stood out to me at the beginning was we saw his entire evil lair. Like, this dude has like a straight up Batman lair in the bottom of his house and multiple suits. So I don't understand this part of Adrian is supposed to have committed suicide at one point, and nobody checks his house for anything. Nobody's taking care of the dog, even though the dog's there 2 weeks later. There's parts of this movie that feel like they were just kind of writing as they went, and they didn't go back and do a rewrite on the script on a couple things, because like I didn't feel like there was any reason for her to go in the lair at the beginning except for to turn off all the cameras and stuff. It just felt like there was parts of the plot that she could have been like, I know he's not dead. I know he created a suit. Here's the suit. He has an evil lair. It's like there's several times I feel like when she's calling her sister, she's like, she pulls up in the car. She's like, what's going on? And then fucking Adrian is going ham, going fucking Captain America through the woods hard as fuck, and then comes punching through the glass like a freaking superhero. The parts of this movie felt like it was like almost like a reverse evil superhero kind of movie. Remind me of the movie Brightburn a little bit, with the superhero style action, but it's with like horror, dread, and pretty well shot, and it's definitely not for kids. So instantly, as all that's going on, it's you're in the shoes of Cecilia, and you're like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And so I didn't realize that the person's house she was saying that was a longtime friend or something, a childhood friend. His name's and the character's name is James Laner, played by Aldous Hodge. I really like this guy. I thought this guy was a great actor. He's in Straight Outta Compton, and he's been in Hidden Figures and Die Hard with a Vengeance, I guess. Yeah, but I haven't seen him in too many things other than that. Oh, he was in Black Mirror as well. That's where he looked familiar. As he's been in a couple movies as well. So yeah, I really liked Aldous Hodge as James Laner in this. And so Cecilia goes to stay with James, and her sister's kind of going back and forth, helping her out a little bit. Her sister's kind of an asshole to her. I mean, at one point, the first 40 minutes is a very slow burn of the Invisible Man starting to, point, plot, and, just fuck with Cecilia just throughout her day-to-day, even to the point where he's, like, taking her portfolio and removing all this stuff before she goes to a job interview, or, turning up the eggs and about burning down the house, to the point where he's, like, at one point he starts attacking Sydney Laner, which is James's daughter. And so that's really what starts to be the kicker for removing James and Sydney from Cecilia's life, because things are kind of going good for the first little bit, but then all of a sudden, Cecilia's starting to have these, kind of, it's not quite a premonition, but she's like looking around. It feels like she's being followed. And just from the very first frame of, seeing that there is an invisible man, it's pretty horrifying just to see these feet staying on top of this blanket as she's trying to pull it after she had already tried to throw it over him. And so it's just like, there's this unnerving feeling about the idea of invisibility. Now, I won't. Another con you could say for this movie is that they didn't go full balls to the wall with it, because this guy should have a hell of a shadow. Like if there's light or something like that, it should be like stopping on the texture of whatever he is, and there should be projecting a shadow. I don't really understand. He's not the transparent man, but it sometimes felt like that's the rules they were playing with. Harriet Dyer, her sister, she's written okay. She doesn't. Yeah. The writing in this for the side characters is not nearly as strong as what it is for Cecilia. It's so clear and to the point for Cecilia, but the supporting characters, I like the Laners, but I wasn't too crazy about the other ones. The Adrian's brother, who we find out later is involved in this whole scheme. It just craziness. And so let me see. I'm gonna kind of go in sequential order a little bit. Let me see. So we find about 20 to 30 minutes in the movie, we find out she's ultra paranoid about him being controlling. And at certain points, I thought we were in the perspective of the Invisible Man. And in a way, we sort of are. Not the entire time, but in some places we are. Some points of the movie. Let me see. When we're looking for the Invisible Man in some of these scenes, it feels very much like we're playing like a game of I Spy. It's very much in the same wheelhouse of what Paranormal Activity did. Paranormal Activity was created on a very low budget as well, and I just remember it's shot like a camcorder or like a found footage film, and then you're just looking at a regular, let's just say, kitchen, and just a light will turn on, or a fan will move, or a pencil will flip, or something crazy will happen, and everyone's like and from a movie making standpoint and CGI and budgetary standpoint, that is really easy to do on a budget. And so I think that's what this movie is doing as well, really well. Let me see. Oh, we kind of get an Invisible Man homage in the hospital. We see the guy wrapped in bandages. We also find out that he's drugging her, and that's why she passed out at her job interview. Like, oh my God! It's when we find out he's drugging her at some point. It's like, oh shit, this is getting real bad. Let me see. Excuse me. The email to her sister really didn't make much sense. The sister clearly knows that her that Cecilia is being harassed or has been through kind of a traumatic event, and if she received an email like that, just some random hate-filled email, I feel like as a sister you would know if that was her or not, or you would talk to him, just have a simple conversation, and you wouldn't just shut him out. But let me see. For a movie, I'll give Chris Stuckman a little bit of credit on here. For a movie that talks so much about nanny cams and not just nanny cams, just security cameras and cameras in general, and I'm pretty sure Upgrade was pretty in tune with the tech in that movie as well. This movie likes to kind of go back and forth between whether there should be a camera in certain places and there shouldn't. Certain times we'll see it over the house, cameras all in the houses, outside the houses, but then there's no cameras at like the restaurant that she supposedly killed her sister at. Like, it is just real convenient that all this stuff is going, happening like that. But I was kind of irritated when it came down to the nanny cams. or to, I keep calling it security cams. And we also get excuse me. We also get, hold on, sorry. I'm sorry, I got a text message. So yeah, there's random convenient things that the supposed Adrian Invisible Man's ass leaves upstairs in the what is it, the attic? The, what is it, a knife? He has like pictures, his cell phone, car keys. He has pretty much everything he needs, to just chill up there, I guess. But small things didn't make sense. Like, if this guy's locked in a room with Cecilia, like, how's he use a restroom? Does he ever use a restroom? Does he ever eat? I don't know. I had questions about that. Just movie logic, I guess. Don't worry about it. Just hand wave it away. Yeah, that was so stupid for him to leave the cell phone up there on vibrate. That didn't even make sense. Let me see. I wasn't even sure that the Invisible Man could talk. So about halfway through, we find out that he actually can talk. I didn't know if there was something limiting that, but he doesn't say much. I think he just says like surprise or hello or something like that when she's stuck in or when she's being sedated in the hospital. Let me see. The invisible fights. Okay, so there's a couple things with this. I do want to be respectful of, people that have been in abusive domestic abuse situations. Obviously, that's nothing I would condone and would like to see on screen. However, the the way that this was portrayed was very impactful. Now, from a metaphorical standpoint, to say that you're being abused by your boyfriend, it might look invisible, quote unquote invisible. The boyfriend might appear that he's, a nice guy on the outside, but really he's, a terrible guy, and he's doing these terrible things to her. And so, from the technical standpoint of watching Cecilia, she was basically, thrown around the house, choked, beat, all this stuff, but by an invisible entity. It is intense. Like, I was floored watching these. It wasn't just Cecilia. There was multiple times. There's actors, the actors as cops, or what is it? James has to fight the Invisible Man. There's several times when these people are fighting the Invisible Man, and I guess they had a guy in a green screen suit or something like that, mocap. I don't know what the fuck they used for that, but they had some really interesting fights, and seeing somebody fight someone they can't see and we can't see is just intense. And I think it was halfway through, once she's put into the hospital after she's accused of killing her sister, which that's so ridiculous. I was not even ready. I think I was like, oh, it happened so fast. It was just like sheet. And so yeah, they should have had a camera in the restaurant that would have been able to prove that she didn't do it. And then if they were going to go that far, at the very end, they would probably be able to prove that Cecilia killed her, Adrian at the very end as well. So I kind of did skip ahead a little bit in that, but the story beats don't exactly make that much sense when you start boiling them down. The technical aspects of the choreography of them going in these fights, and just thinking of how you would detain somebody like this, because it ultimately, if someone had this capability, or if you gave this capability to a number of people, someone's going to abuse it. Someone's going to be in places they shouldn't be, and going to be voyeurs or something like that. And so I was definitely in agreement with how they were portraying the idea of the Invisible Man, and I thought it was really creative how they were addressing him through the fighting, and how they were trying to pin him down and whatnot. So let me see what else we got. This Adrian guy didn't change the house code. Like, this guy is sloppy. Like he just wanted Cecilia to go back. Like I said, no one's taking care of the dog. I was completely floored when he killed her sister. I was just like, I think I was looking down at my phone for half a second, and I look up and I hear this slice, and I'm like, oh! I was like, shit, happened so fast. And so I did want just a little bit more interaction between Cecilia and Adrian. It does make it a little bit more troubling, I guess, to show more of the domestic abuse that happened before, because of how much we have to watch after. But he gets his comeuppance, and he's a petty ass fucker. And we also find out that she was having sex with him, thinking that she was on birth control. Later, we find out that he was removing the birth control or something, or I don't know. And so she's pregnant with his baby, and so that's this whole thing of he wants her so bad that he's willing to get her pregnant so that she'll quote unquote have to stay with him. And there's this, I don't know if he was an attorney or a lawyer or something like that. His brother is at the very beginning, talking about Elizabeth Moss, Cecilia, you're going to get $5 million if you submit your bank account and you let us know that, that this is what you want. You are entitled to the money. Which I'm not sure why she would get the money if she's not married. I was not... the more I think about it, if he's the boyfriend, I don't think she would get anything. I really don't know what she would get. So maybe it's another plot hole. I don't know. Or maybe it's state laws. I have no idea. But anyways, there's this $5 million that's kind of hovering around, and they're kind of using it as a leverage a little bit on Elizabeth Moss before she's in jail, and then once she is in jail. Both Tom, the brother, is trying to leverage Cecilia to stay with his brother, Adrian, and so it's really fucked, especially with the money deal and whatnot. Which I don't think she would get any money. I don't know why they think that. Let's see. The action in the hallway was absolutely sick. It's straight up upgrade at its finest. These people are these cops coming in rows of two are like looking for what's going on, and there's like a row of other cops that have been just obliterated, and there's Cecilia laying in the middle of the hallway. She's like, stop, and they're like, all right, now y'all just calm down now. Oh God, and you get blown away. But I was like, dang. This is straight up upgrade level. And so from there, it just, continues. She straight up stole that dude's car. I thought it was pretty funny that she jumps in and she's on the Bluetooth and he's like, Bobby's okay, bye. And so when Tom is introduced that he's going to, the Invisible Man threatens, he basically obliterates all of the cops, and then Cecilia has to run to the Laners estate and or their house, and to go protect Sydney. And we find out Tom is under the mask after he's trying to kill the sister, and then almost kills James as well, which was an intense ass fight. I was like, geez, do something. I was kind of let down a little bit by seeing Tom in the suit, although I was like, maybe there are multiple suits, multiple people. I'm not really sure. I don't know, but what Adrian got out of that was his brother ends up dying and kind of taking the fall, and then he frames his brother for kidnapping him. I don't even I don't even know why this would make sense at all. I mean, weren't there cops already all up in the house? Like, they would have seen him. Or unless that was Tom's house, actually. I didn't even think about that. So, let me get a little bit of Gatorade. I'm dying. Non-sponsored. Sorry. Oh, Lord. Okay, so they got Tom's ass. And then at the very end, for the cherry on top, they gotta go get Adrian. Adrian doesn't... I don't know. He doesn't have too much to do as a character. He's just more of an entity and a voice and a presence. I did not think the very last scene of the movie worked as smart as that I think they thought it was going to. Like, there's a security camera on Aiden. Cecilia basically wants him to admit what he's been doing, and he won't admit it. So she goes in the bathroom, puts on the invisible suit, comes out, makes sure there's a camera on Adrian only, and it makes it look like he pulls a steak knife up and just slices his throat in the exact same way that her sister died. And then he falls, on the floor choking while she's watching, just like he's been watching her the entire time. That's probably what he deserves, but honestly, she's going to get manslaughter or something for this, because it's just too much evidence that she was the one that did it. There's invisible suits in the house. Like, come on now. This is it seems like screenwriting 101. I don't know why this was such an overlooked part of the movie. And this does have like 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. So critics are liking it and having a good time. And I think the majority of this movie is a good time. Not a good time. It's entertaining, with a side order of turbulence on the side. Just a little bit of screenwriting or screenplay errors that I can see just watching on the first run. So yeah, but I ultimately did have a really good time watching the Invisible Man. It's sort of a metaphor for abuse and not being able to see it from outside perspectives. And I think that's why this movie justifies its existence in 2020, not only because of they're riding off the coattails of the Me Too movement that was very popular the last few years, and probably was written around that time, but also the practical effects. I really think the effects and camera work are very impressive. Nothing like, I don't think any of the previous other Invisible Men were, or even Hollow Man or anything was this intense with the action. So yeah, I think, was it Doom Patrol kind of had it? I think they had an invisible character, and they have some pretty cool stuff they do with that, but not to this extent. I think this is a fun movie, mostly for the creativity. I'd give it about a 7 out of 10. The screenwriting is what kind of brings it down the screenplay is what brings it down just a hair, but I absolutely want to see whatever Lee Winnell comes out with next. So thank you for listening to the LuckyDog podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed this movie review on The Invisible Man 2020. Be sure to check out all the other, Invisible podcast. Go check out the other movie reviews on LuckyDog podcast. Check out the SoundCloud, Apple iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all the social medias. And if you like this and you want to support us, go to paypal.me/the LuckyDog podcast. Link is in the description. If you got a couple quarters, that would be awesome. If you got a couple dollars, that'd be even more awesome. Keeps the lights on in the studio. And if you want to hear these reviews early, I normally drop the movie reviews around on Tuesdays, give or take if they're new releases or not. But I always instantly drop them Drop It Like It's Hot on YouTube. So if you are interested in more movie reviews and you want to get them early, subscribe on YouTube at LuckyDog Podcast. And link is in the description below. And you'll be able to listen to all the LuckyDog Podcast early. So thank you for listening. The back catalog is on SoundCloud. Let us know how we can improve. And thank you for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. Take it easy.